China, a country with a 5,000-year-old history, a population of over 1.4 billion people, and the second largest economy in the world. For decades, we have watched this giant awaken. But who is the man who leads it? His name is Xi Jinping. He is the President of China, the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, and the Commander-in-Chief of the world's largest army. He is, without doubt, one of the most powerful people in the world. But his life was not always easy. His story is a dramatic one. He went from being the son of a top leader, a red prince, to a poor worker living in a cave, and then rose to the very top of the political system that had once punished him. How did he do it? What does he want for China and for the world? This is the story of Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping was born in Beijing, the capital of China, on June 15, 1953. He was born into the new communist royalty. His father was Xi Jinping, a famous hero of the Communist Revolution. Xi Jinping fought alongside Mao Zedong to create the People's Republic of China in 1949. After the revolution, he became a top leader, serving as a vice premier. Because of his father, Xi Jinping was a princeling. This is a name for the children of high-level Communist Party officials, the new red aristocracy. As a boy, Xi Jinping had a life of privilege. He lived in a comfortable home in a special compound for leaders called Zongnanhai, next to the Forbidden City. He went to a special school for the children of the elite. He had access to books and food that were luxuries for ordinary people. At that time, most people in China were very poor. The country was still recovering from years of war. But Xi Jinping grew up in the protected world of the party elite. His future looked bright and secure. But in the China of Mao Zedong, politics could change very, very quickly. When Xi was only 9 years old, his family's life was destroyed. In 1962, his father, Xi Jinping, was suddenly removed from his job. The leader of China, Chairman Mao, was becoming increasingly paranoid. He was afraid of losing power, especially after the failure of his Great Leap Forward policy, which had caused a terrible famine. Mao started to purge or remove people he did not trust. Xi's father was accused of supporting a book that was critical of Mao. He was branded an enemy of the party. He was sent away from Beijing to work in a factory and was later put in prison. The family lost everything. They were forced to leave their home, and they lost their status and their comfortable life. For young Xi Jinping, the world turned upside down. In 1966, things got even worse. Mao Zedong, feeling his power was still not secure, started the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution. It was a decade of chaos, fear, and violence. Mao encouraged young people, called the Red Guards, to attack the four olds: old ideas, old culture, old customs, and old habits. They attacked anyone they saw as an enemy of communism. Teachers, writers, artists, and even party leaders were publicly humiliated, beaten, and sometimes killed. Xi Jinping's family was a prime target. His school was closed. The Red Guards ransacked his family home. One of his sisters died during this period, likely taking her own life under pressure. Because his father was an enemy of the party, Xi Jinping was also seen as an enemy. He was only a teenager. He was publicly denounced and had to attend struggle sessions where he was forced to criticize his own father. In 1969, at the age of 15, he was sent to the countryside. This was part of a huge program where millions of young people from the cities were sent to live and work with poor farmers. It was called the Down to the Countryside movement. The official reason was for them to be re-educated by the peasants. Xi was sent to a small, poor village called Liangjiahe in the rural province of Shanxi. Life there was extremely hard. He lived in a cave house, a home dug into the side of a dusty hill. There was no electricity and no running water. He had to sleep on a bed of bricks, and he had to deal with fleas. He had to work hard in the fields every day, digging ditches and farming. He was often hungry. It was a huge shock for a boy who grew up in the capital city. At first, he couldn't stand it. After a few months, he ran away and went back to Beijing. But he was arrested and sent to a labor camp for 6 months before being sent back to the village. He spent a total of 7 years in that village, but something changed in him. He decided to survive and to succeed. He worked hard and became the party secretary of the village, a small but important position. He learned about the lives of ordinary, poor people. He also read a lot of books, anything he could find. Far from turning against the Communist Party that had punished his family, he decided to join it. He believed the party was the only way to make China strong and to avoid the chaos of the Cultural Revolution. He applied to join many times, but was rejected because of his father's political status. Finally, in 1974, he was accepted. In 1975, Xi Jinping's life changed again. He was allowed to go to university as a worker-peasant-soldier student. He went to the prestigious Tsinghua University in Beijing. He studied chemical engineering. After he graduated in 1979, his father was also fully rehabilitated. The Cultural Revolution was over, and Deng Xiaoping was the new leader of China. The party said Xi's father was not an enemy after all. The family's honor was restored. With his father's connections, Xi Jinping got a good job in Beijing, working as a secretary for a top general in the military. He had a good job and a good future in the capital, but he made a surprising decision. In 1982, he asked to leave Beijing. He wanted to go back to the countryside and work in local government. He told a friend he wanted to go among the masses. He wanted to start from the bottom and work his way up, proving himself. He became a local party official in Hebei province. Then he moved to the coastal province of Fujian. For the next 25 years, Xi Jinping worked in the provinces. He was not a famous or flashy leader. He was careful, quiet, and hard-working. He learned how the government worked at every level, from the county to the province. He was known for being practical and for fighting corruption. During this time, in 1987, he married his second wife, Pang Li-wan. She was already a very famous folk singer in China, much more famous than him at the time. He served as a governor in Fujian province for many years. Fujian is across the sea from Taiwan, the island that China says is part of its territory. This gave him experience with the sensitive Taiwan issue. Later, he became the party chief of the neighboring Zhejiang province. Zhejiang was a rich province with a lot of private businesses. There, he got a reputation for being friendly to business. In 2007, he was sent to Shanghai, China's biggest city, to be the party chief after a big corruption scandal. He was there for only a short time, but it was a very important job. Being the leader of Shanghai is often a stepping stone to the top leadership in Beijing. By working in different provinces, Xi Jinping showed the leaders in Beijing that he was a capable and reliable official. He avoided making big mistakes. He built a network of supporters, and his family background as a princeling was still an advantage. In 2007, his slow and steady rise paid off. At the 17th Party Congress, he was chosen to be a member of the most powerful group in China, the Politburo Standing Committee. He jumped from being a provincial leader to one of the top 9 men in the country. This was a huge promotion. It meant he was a possible successor to the current president, Hu Jintao. The other possible successor was a man named Bo Xilai, another princeling who was much more charismatic and famous. But in the end, the party elders chose the quiet, careful Xi Jinping. The next year, in 2008, he was made vice president of China. He was also put in charge of the Beijing Olympics. The 2008 Olympics were a huge success for China. It was a big party to show the world that China was now a modern and powerful country. Xi Jinping did a good job organizing the games, and this increased his reputation. As vice president, he began to travel the world, meeting other world leaders. He was still very careful. He did not say much about his personal opinions. People inside and outside China wondered what kind of leader he would be. Was he a reformer who would open up China, like his father? Or was he a traditional communist who would make the party stronger? No one was sure. He was a mystery. In November 2012, the time came. The Communist Party held its 18th Party Congress. Hu Jintao stepped down, and Xi Jinping was chosen as the new General Secretary of the Communist Party, the most powerful job in China. A few months later, in March 2013, he also became the president. At the age of 59, Xi Jinping had reached the top. The boy from the cave house was now the leader of 1.4 billion people. When Xi Jinping came to power, he had a big vision for his country. He called it the China Dream. The China Dream is about the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. This means making China strong, proud, and respected in the world again. He said that China had a great history, but in the 19th and 20th centuries, it was weak and humiliated by other countries. Now it was time for China to take its place as a global leader. One of his first and most important actions was a huge anti-corruption campaign. Corruption was a very big problem in China. Many people were angry about it. Xi Jinping promised to go after both tigers and flies. This meant both high-level leaders and low-level officials. Thousands of officials were arrested and sent to prison, including some very powerful people, like a former member of the Politburo Standing Committee. The campaign was very popular with ordinary people. They felt that Xi was cleaning up the government. But his critics said he was also using the campaign to remove his political rivals and put his own supporters in powerful positions, consolidating his power. Another big part of the China Dream was making China's economy even stronger. He continued to support economic growth, but he also wanted to make the economy more modern and based on technology. He started a huge project called the Belt and Road Initiative. This is a plan to build ports, roads, and railways all over the world, connecting China to Europe, Africa, and the rest of Asia. It is one of the biggest infrastructure projects in history. Supporters say it helps other countries develop. Critics say it puts poor countries in debt to China and increases China's power and influence. He also announced the Made in China 2025 plan, a strategy to make China a world leader in high-tech industries like robotics, artificial intelligence, and electric cars. And he set a goal to eliminate extreme poverty in China, a goal the government announced it had achieved in 2021. While Xi Jinping worked to make China stronger on the outside, he also worked to make the Communist Party stronger on the inside. He believes that the party must control everything in China. Under his rule, life in China has become much more controlled. The government has increased censorship of the internet, newspapers, and television. The Great Firewall of China has become even higher. It is now very difficult to criticize the government publicly. Many lawyers, journalists, and human rights activists have been arrested. This tightening of control is very clear in two regions, Xinjiang and Hong Kong. In Xinjiang, in the far west of China, there is a large population of Muslim people called Uyghurs. The government says that some Uyghurs are terrorists. It has built large camps, which it calls re-education centers. Human rights groups, using satellite images and testimonies from former detainees, say that over 1 million Uyghurs have been sent to these camps. They say people in the camps are forced to give up their religion and culture. The Chinese government denies this. It says the camps are for job training and to fight extremism. In Hong Kong, a city that was a British colony until 1997, people used to have more freedoms than in the rest of China. But in 2019, there were huge protests for democracy. In 2020, Xi Jinping's government passed a new national security law for Hong Kong. The law gives the government broad powers to arrest anyone who criticizes it. Many pro-democracy activists have been arrested or have fled the city. Newspapers have been closed. For many, this was the end of the one country, two systems promise. On the world stage, Xi's China has become much more assertive or confident. It has built military bases on artificial islands in the South China Sea. It has increased pressure on Taiwan, the self-governing island that China sees as its own. Xi has said that Taiwan must and will be reunited with China, and he has not ruled out using force. This has created a lot of tension with the United States and other countries. Xi Jinping has become the most powerful Chinese leader since Mao Zedong. He has put his own ideas, called Xi Jinping Thought on Socialism with Chinese Characteristics for a New Era, into the party's constitution. This is an honor that only Mao and Deng Xiaoping, the leader who started China's economic reforms, had before him. He has also created a cult of personality around himself. His face is everywhere on posters and in the news. People call him Xi Dada, which means Uncle Xi. School children have to study his political philosophy. But his most important move came in 2018. The Chinese government removed the rule that said a president could only serve for 2 terms. A term is 5 years. This means that Xi Jinping can now be president for as long as he wants. In 2022, at the 20th Party Congress, he was given a historic 3rd term as leader of the Communist Party, breaking with recent tradition. And in 2023, he became president for a 3rd term. Many people believe he plans to rule for the rest of his life. This concentration of power worries many people, both inside and outside China. They fear that with no one to challenge him, Xi could make big mistakes. They point to his zero-COVID policy. For almost 3 years, China tried to stop the coronavirus completely with very strict lockdowns. This policy hurt the economy and made many people angry. In late 2022, there were rare, large protests across the country against the policy. The government finally ended the policy suddenly, leading to a massive wave of infections. This showed that even a powerful leader like Xi has to listen to the people sometimes. So, who is Xi Jinping? He is a man of many contradictions. He is a princeling who lived in a cave. He is a communist leader who oversees a huge capitalist economy. He talks about the China dream of national rejuvenation, but his critics say he is creating a nightmare of authoritarian control. He is the son of a leader who was purged by the party, and now he is a leader who purges others. His supporters say he has made China strong, proud, and respected. They point to the millions of people he has lifted out of poverty and the country's amazing technological progress. They say his strong leadership is what China needs to face a dangerous and hostile world. His critics say he has taken away the freedoms of his people, committed human rights abuses, and is a threat to his neighbors and the world order. One thing is clear: the story of Xi Jinping is not over. As he leads China into the future, his decisions will affect not only the 1.4 billion people in his country, but everyone on the planet. The world is watching.